and you find a deal, one of the things that I hear a lot from brokers and sometimes buyers is that, hey, I have a buyer that has all the upfront cash to buy the business. We don't need Boopos, or we don't need external financing. Either we hear this from brokers and buyers, right? However, when I talk to aggregators, when I talk to more organized buyers, they always seem to be looking for external financing in order to leverage their capital as much as possible and have a bigger ability or power to buy more companies, right? What's your opinion in this? I know you talk to a lot of buyers that have cash. How do you usually get on the conversation when there could be financing available for those deals?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't do a lot of, maybe consulting or saying, hey, like you're paying all cash, maybe you should leverage up. I'd let them decide that. Right. Now, I would say most people, especially sophisticated buyers and people who've bought more than one, they're typically looking to leverage. And leverage doesn't need to be 90%. Leverage could be 20 to 50%, right? There's lots of different forms of leverage, and it needs to make sense for the deal. It needs to make sense for the financing, and all those moving pieces. And I historically have been a fan of leverage. I've done all cash deals. I've done leverage deals. But all leverage deals,
seller financing deals that you mentioned.
100% seller financing deals. Yeah. If someone's going to listen to this and say, "Oh, I'm going to do this," and I'm like, "Yeah, it doesn't work like that."
Absolutely. Then they come to me and say, "No, I don't need financing. I want to do all seller note." That's how I roll, because I heard it from Ryan.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. So when it comes to leverage, right? A lot of people will look to leverage, and I think there is good debt and bad debt, and I think debt can sometimes have a really negative connotation in a personal setting, like personal debt, credit card debt. In a business setting, it allows you to do so much more. And this is a tricky topic, because I think we're in times, we're at the end of 2022. Interest rates in most places of the world have gone way up, and so if you were over leveraged, you're starting to feel it and you're starting to hurt. Whereas if you had a good level of comfort on your leverage, it was okay. And like I say, sometimes if people, when they bought their business were paying 6% and now they're paying 9% because, interest rates have come up. If the business doesn't make sense at 9%, you probably shouldn't have bought it at 6%, right? And so when you are looking at these leveraged opportunities, you need to have a lot more wiggle room, especially as we go into 2023, 2024. Nobody's got a crystal ball. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I personally am a fan of leverage. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that sort of risk, and most sophisticated buyers are. We run into a fair amount of all cash buyers, and it's typically an all cash buyer is dependent upon, I think, what their other net worth is, right? Like if it's 20% of their net worth, it's not that big of a deal compared to if someone is taking their last penny and dumping it in to do an all cash deal. That's a bad deal for them, right? So there's different forms of leverage. And I always say you should explore, even if you have the all cash to do it, 20, 30%, usually not a big deal. And something like a Boopos could come in and actually help, de-risk that deal for you and open up some opportunities.
I think when James Bezos buys a house, I don't think he pays all upfront cash. He probably gets a mortgage too, because the interest that he's making on the bank is probably going to be higher than what he has to pay for the mortgage. So I think leveraging is a great option. Again, as you mentioned, even if you have all cash, just doing 30%, 40% leverage, and then perhaps use whatever equity you wanted to put into the business for working capital, because you are going to need it, right? And so, yeah, something that you mentioned also is that the interest rates are increasing, but at the same time, we've seen that the asking multiples have lowered, right?
Yeah, they should offset it a little bit, right? And we know as times are good, and there was a lot of easy money in 2020, 2021, early 2022. When there's easy money, prices go up, and when there's not easy money and cheap money, then prices naturally need to come down and reverse that. So I'm sure you've seen that more across the ton of deals that you all done. We've started to see multiples come down. There's still this plethora. There's so many buyers still, and not enough businesses to fill it. But what we're seeing is there's less businesses going for sale, but the businesses that are going for sale are typically really good. And whereas the businesses that were, say, maybe mediocre, that were selling a year or two ago, are just not really moving. And so we're starting to see interest rates go up, but also the prices come down. So it just depends on what your comfort level is. At the end of the day, Ignacio, I say it's like if you're buying a great business, it's okay to pay a really fair, good price for it. Whereas if you're buying a bad business, even if you pay an amazing price for it, it's still a bad business. Maybe it's not the best business there.